Okay. Right on time, I would say. Because it was exactly 10 o'clock. Not a second late. And what did we witness yesterday? Apart from, I mean, as I said, the Finnish games are finished. The Finnish games, I said the computer was very good on the Finnish league so far, not finding any goals. I mean, they didn't score any goals. And all those narrow results. And so we didn't go to the wedding. We didn't do anything with it. But in turn, we went to the funeral, which by a saying you should not do. I'm checking the stats in Finland right now. I mean, now that we... Okay, let's have a look here, first of all, maybe. And I have to close the window again. I mean, I was trying to check the stats in Finland right now, which you can't see here. And maybe I find a way that you can still see it. Or I make a screenshot. And I can show you this. I mean, given yesterday's results, of course, the stats are altered. Okay, we don't need the Betmaster then, but instead we had to watch this or look at this. And here it is. Oh, wasn't quite what I wanted. Okay. Here's the table from Finland, including the stats. And of course, with the results, with yesterday's results, it's still a bit lean, the table. Some played 10 games, others played just 8, as you see here. But okay, so now the goal average went up to 2.68, and I had expected 2.42. I expected a home advantage of 1.075, and there was just one of 1.014, so no home advantage here. Well, which is not quite true, because home sides did win their 21 games. Well, I expected 21.12. They drew 16, as I said, many draws so far. I expected 15.15, so I'm not all that wrong. And 16.72 away wins, which, yeah, they just won 16 games. So in the sense of how many home wins we had, that is still okay, considering the goals. They scored 72 home sides and just 70 the away sides, and I expected 69.11 and 59.43. So here away sides were a lot better. So now you could say, well, why did you go for under if there's obviously this gap? Well, it was what just yesterday's results, of course, have had their impact on. And I mean, it's just I mean, you know, we could talk about this Bayern Munich and so on, and just praise ourselves, whatever. But now what we see here is 2-4, 3-0, 3-2. So we were totally wrong in all those, and that's what I meant with being missing the wedding and going to the funeral. We could have won quite a bit with these games, and in this one bet coupon we had all the outsiders with very huge prices. One of them won maybe, but all the others were just drawn, but still it was like 4 maybe good bets that we all didn't do, except in this one coupon where it didn't help. But now we did tune in, and okay, we went to the funeral. And here we got 2-4, 3-0, 3-2. That's 6, 9, 14 goals. But we just had 1 under, but then we had 6 goals. And all the outsiders we had were plus 0.75. We can see that here as well. I mean, I'm you know, if we count in units, it's as meaningful as the Bayern Munich game. So what does it help my stats? And of course, we would like to make some progress instead of starting to really lose some money. And the miscellaneous, they do not count, or do they? They do, as we talked about the games, and we did, but we do not have the new system to evaluate those bets, so we cannot properly, well, we should not count them in, or we should, I don't know, if we come to the conviction that we have to go for a game, or we analyze it as well as we can, and we say, okay, that's a go, but we should not destroy our records like that, which should not be the case anyway. I mean, if we should lose with these 45 bets, miscellaneous, we have right now 45 bets, and we lose 9 units and 20.1%, that is just bad luck. We should lose like maybe 1 unit or so, which a monkey would also achieve. And what was I trying to say? Getting back to this, so we did have, what did I say? 14 goals in 3 games. That's like, if you deduct these from the table, 14 goals from 142, that would have been 128, and the expectancies may go down. They are right now, that would be 129. You deduct a couple, so there would just be a very small overhead for the over. So I was, before that match day, I was pretty close, but still there may have been slightly too many goals before that. But as I said, in Sweden, for example, we went for the over, and more or less, and there we had been confirmed, because goal average was lower there, and then it went up, because I said I do not accept that, because there's not much reason, especially though as we do count the should goals, which we cannot assess here, or I could with a standard conversion rate, which I've done for the Champions League. Anyway, so that was a pure disaster once again for these bets, because we had high EFK lost just by 1 goal, which means we had 1 half loss. Hang on. Is there anyone available at all? Anyone available at all? Which I cannot see right now. I'm live. Sorry, I should have started my stream manager before. The chosen one, 17 hours. Okay, well, 2 people watching, no one talking. That's fine. I mean, if it were true. Soccer home, the commander Groot, Veggie Herbert. Hello. I mean, that's what I can see here. Okay. So these miscellaneous, that's going terribly bad, and any decision there is meant to be a good one. We cannot evaluate that. That's why we have to keep them separate. Yes, good morning in the morning. We have to separate. We cannot. Neither can we. Well, we need that new system to somehow be able to. Well, we need a second voice, a second opinion with these stats. I can hardly claim that the old system, which had been running for like 20 years, really well, but the market had not been this competitive then, or it did become in the last 10 years. I'm doing the whole business for 30 years now. In the last 10 years, that market has become so incredibly competitive with all those professionals around, which you may consider yourself to be, I mean, not competitive, competitive for sure, but maybe not professional or semi-professional. It's hard for me to distinguish this so well. But as soon as anyone in this market who writes down a price or who accepts a bet for this price has an idea in doing so, and he has the idea, I'm gonna win this bet, or he has the idea, at least I'm pretty sure I do have a good bet, and we are fighting against that. We say, well, we are like anyone else, but we do the same thing. Let's put it like that. We do the same thing, but I mean, anyone else, he has to care for his own records, but we have to care for our record. And what I try is, of course, to give you good bets, and also not to lose you here in the chat, also that you say, well, okay, those are records that I can produce myself on this level or even on a better one. As I say, the regular ones, of course, as soon as the record would turn around, I have no idea how, because I can't predict what I would be saying if it were different to what it is. But well, as I know myself, I could promise you I would say the same thing. With the miscellaneous, if we were winning there and losing on the regular ones, then I would say, well, on the miscellaneous one, we had been lucky. We tried to choose very well, and well, most likely we had been lucky. What I could show you there, of course, to prove that is, in some sense, that I even have the idea to evaluate these bets as well, the miscellaneous one, because as we've done already, I could always have a look at the standard well, let's look at this. Not take this one, but this one. Hang on. This one. And here we tried to well, using the standard conversion rate. That's how we were trying to evaluate those games. Even though I cannot really confirm that the standard conversion rate is the right value, to the proper value to calculate with, I can still say that if I always take that same measurement, or do that same thing for all the games, and do not adjust it because I say, well, in this game it's of course different, this is Bayern Munich or this is Juventus or something like that, and then betray myself somehow. But I wouldn't do that. So we could somehow rely on it, or we could at least try to measure it like that, right? And it would mean, I mean, if we had Başakşehir here, we actually would have had a good bet. If it's 3-0, we can still count it neutral. I haven't done this yet because we had a lot more than these games. I was just trying to go through the EuroLeague and Champions League like that, and I could do that for the other games as well. It's some extra work, and we try to evaluate that. Or we would rather stick to what we've, the thing what we actually meant to do. Or, when I started the streaming here, I could not be sure yet which way we were going to, drift. Because I'm chaotic myself, and then I think, why not? Let's have a look at the live betting or so, and I have to see your reaction first of all, which I couldn't foresee, of course. And but now I would say, after so many bets or weeks, not including any of the leagues that I'm really comfortable with, but which I would not try to, whenever I say a sentence and I say, okay, there are restrictions to that as well, because I know too well that all of this, you depend on very small things that have to go your way, or that can go against you. They can go, even for quite a while, they can go against you, but they can, in every single game, they can be the decider somehow. And if you watched Bayern Munich carefully yesterday, then you have to admit that after the 1-1, there was instantly some confusion in that Bayern defense. They felt so comfortable, and they instantly scored the goal again. So it always goes like this. We don't have to worry, no problems at all. We're going to score, we know how to do it, and so on. But then they concede this one goal. It was an own goal. And you have to say, first of all, the attack was well played. And then this Alaba, he's smiling about it because it's unlucky. But still, the ball, if it comes through, it's an excellent chance anyway. So it is some kind of panic when he goes in there. Although it's very good reaction if he goes in there. If he laughs after it, because he said, I can do anything, right? But still, it was an excellent attack. It's not like any own goal is like the other own goal. This had been a very special own goal, or of the kind that either he does it or the opposing attacker scores it, but which is of course not neither one is a given. But it was still of that kind. We have to be honest with that. And after that, it's not just that the one side thinks, all of a sudden we could lose, or they are shocked somehow, because that was one excellent attack, one very good ball here, one very good ball across. So just perfect football. So what can you do against it? It's just a goal that happens, and that, hopefully will happen all the time. Every now and then, here or there, because we would like to see goals after all. But after that, there was this confusion, and they could have scored a second. Take this one chance by Suarez, where he simply may have scored the goal, the 2-1, and it was perfect. But okay, you can send Neuer Neuer came up on top because he's Neuer, but anything could have happened there. It's not a 50-50, I wouldn't go this far, but taking all the chances, or the 3 chances also, then you could say maybe 50% they score. But what happens if it's 2-1? You can't say this is going to be an 8-2 or something like that. So there are all those branches or those exits, or it goes this way. This is my chaos principle, and of course the other one may be beaten at some point, or but scoring this goal, the second, could have changed everything, and no one that knows or watched any football so far should ever deny that. No matter how well Bayern may have proven in the process how well they can do and how easily they can score, but so we have to be as honest at least to ourselves, or also to the game of football. Or so there are always these chances that things can also go against you, and everyone that's in the business should know, at least if you hadn't experienced it, which is of course which you will have done. You experience it. The question would be then, would it be regularly or for a while happen more often against you or more often with you? But this we can hardly judge. This is what we are trying to achieve here, to be able to judge that. Whether or not the quality is fine that for the games we select. But what more did I want to say? When I hear the news, when I was sitting in the car in the morning, I had some other business, not cycling today, which I'm gonna do later. But so I was in the car. I listened to the news, and they said in the news, which is ridiculous to do so, but anyway, that's the way they do. Then they say the game already decided by halftime, and everyone that watched this game or knows or understands football or has, well, it's just not the truth as well. And if Kai Dittmann, who's doing a ridiculously terrible job there, Kai Dittmann commenting in German, but if he says after it's a terrible commentary, but I have to wait for 2 hours to hear one useful sentence, but then it came. Okay, I'll be there in a second for you. Mentor 8. Yes, I'm gonna do that, Mentor 8. I don't know where you have been, but I'm gonna do that in a second. Okay? I have done it already. So Mentor, 1 second of patience, please. The game, Kai Dittmann, terrible commentary and without any emotion, which would be really welcome there, because I would trust him. I wouldn't trust him. I don't trust him in anything, but that he wants Bayern to win. I mean, he doesn't need to prove it. I mean, he wants Bayern to win. Okay, that's fine, because he's a German commentator. He is allowed to be in favor of Bayern, but he also wants to promote his broadcast, or his the whole company. Also, if the German teams go on, then they have more spectators or more subscribers or whatever, because German football, if Leipzig are playing, I'm gonna buy a subscription. Otherwise, if it were just the foreign teams, they wouldn't subscribe. So he has all reason to favor Bayern, but there's no doubt about it, which makes it very different to all the other commentary when he says, when Leverkusen plays Stuttgart, and he says Leverkusen has to do more. Why Leverkusen? Why? Because we want them to win, or they don't know what they do and what they are talking about or what they mean. All they manage to is be negative. But in this case, he favors Bayern. But now, after the 2-4, he said this sentence. As funny or strange as it may sound, but Bayern may need a fifth to confirm victory. I mean, which makes it obvious already that he anticipates they are still gonna win, but they are gonna need one more goal. I mean, if it were about tension, then he would have to say, this game is not over yet. But and maybe, well, a lot can still happen, which is the truth, because it's 4-2 and they just scored a goal. And if you see Suarez picking up the ball from the net because they need 2 more, you instantly notice they also know this may be a turning point. So maybe now let's get a kickoff, let's get on, and they want to score a third. And if this would have happened, so there's another exit there, or this branch, and where still things could go different. But Bayern did score the 5th, and if you saw Alphonse Davies and this run, I instantly typed it in here in the chat or somewhere in the WhatsApp, I don't know, but everywhere. But also for the Bild in the newspaper, they put in that article about the prediction for Wett-Opa for the Champions League, they put Alphonse Davies in brackets when I said how good Bayern Munich are, and now he took that and he made semi-professional, very good. But they put it in brackets, or I did, because I said, okay, there's one name that for me, I mean, everyone can say that, and that's but I still, it was this one name pointed out, or that I mentioned. I could have said any other name, but I said, write this name. I said, do you know how strong Bayern Munich are? Alphonse Davies, and that's all. And when you see this 5th goal, it was right what Dittmann said, which is ridiculous all over. In this case, he was right, still turning down the tension, because they need this goal to confirm, but they are going to confirm, of course, but which we do not know by the time. But anyway, Alphonse Davies, what he did there with his run and with his footwork and so on, and get past the defender who is still trying to hold him, which is very regular. But if you see the best attackers, the best strikers, which he is not a striker, but he could do anything or play anywhere. But the art is to escape the foul. You do not, I mean, get past the defender. That's easy, so to say. But it doesn't help you, because you get brought down, and then you get a free kick, which you don't need, somewhere on the sideline or somewhere, which you don't need, but you would need the free run into the area, which he did. But that's the art, the true art lies in getting by the foul and not getting by the defender. But Semedo, he tried to hold him, but he couldn't manage. And that's what Messi makes so extraordinary and for over all the years. Because he did escape the fouls, and if you saw that one dribbling that Messi made, that's once again, and he should, and was still 0-0, and could have been 1-0 also, Barca. I know it can't be 0-0. I'm wrong. It was 1-0, I would say. Well, maybe it was 1-1. Maybe I'm wrong. Yeah, 1-1. One of these chances. So he was right, but it is not true that the game was decided by halftime, which is also silly to say so, because is it what you want? Do you want a quick decision and now we all go asleep or fall asleep? We don't want to watch it anymore. We want some excitement. And of course we are happy, so to say, I'm not the German kind or typical or anything. We may be happy with a bet that's easily won. But if we understand football, or the tension we want, or the excitement somehow, that also lies in we do not know what is going to happen and who's going to win and how it's going to happen, if it happens. Okay, and the stats in this game, that's the last thing, Mentor 8. The game yesterday was perfect for betting on yellow cards. Yeah, he was in the last minute, he was booked, but maybe he should have been booked before. Very good. If you do so, I mean, do such bets, tell me about them. I'm not going to do them, and I'm not going to evaluate them because I can't. but go ahead, do your business. If you know something or understand something, I'm pleased to hear that, because I'm apart from trying to make some good bets or even to get us winning here, I would also say there's always a chance, and there's always a chance, which means it was a free bet, fine. I understand what you mean, because sometimes they were offering this for the big games. But there's always something we can look for, and which makes sense to observe market and to look what there is at offer. And there are gonna be mistakes. That's what I was trying to say. There are gonna be mistakes that we can exploit somehow. And of course, the question is, is it enough for a living? This I can't promise. Also not, especially not for the future, because this market is gonna get better, which is a very simple reasoning. If it's gonna be better because there is always a money flow, and the money is shifting around. There's some money shifted around, and the flow of the money is always going to be from the bad players towards the good players. And so the bad players, they are not going to stop being bad, which is also part of that, but they are running out of money, which means that flow. So you always you always have a tougher competition in this market. The competition is getting tougher, also by all those things that are being provided now, all the services. So many people trying to introduce or make their knowledge and understanding count. Everyone, also mentor aid. If you do such a bet, you also are partly having some kind of influence on the market and on the the growth in quality or something like that. I mean, if you win the bet, someone else loses, so to say. I mean, it's just a very, very small thing, maybe. But this one who loses may reconsider his price, or reconsider or think about it, what he's going to do better next day. And that's not just his major task. It is all his intent. It is what he's trying to do. I'm trying to get better. That's what we try to do as well. And there is, of course, a tendency, if you try to get better, you will manage. I mean, maybe you hope for more than you can do, but you will still improve there. I mean, the tendency will be. I mean, if 9 out of 10 manage, there are people like me getting really old, and maybe we can't compete anymore, because I can see that everywhere, but that it's getting tougher to compete. I mean, in any sports, anything. I'm playing chess, and of course there are young players that are, they are just, how do you call it? Replace me. And they are gonna even reach a higher level than I ever did. Because if Dick Fosbury or high jump or whatever, if he introduces his grade and wins a gold medal or something like that, then still in the next generation they will use his style, they will improve on it, they will exercise it better, they will, and so on. So Dick Fosbury may be a genius or whatever, but he will also not just be find high jumpers of the same standard, but also they will top him. So we have to put up with that, anyone. And if you are still young, make use of that. Try to avoid getting as old as me, which is a tough task. Here are the bets. Here are the bets. No, these are not the bets. Sorry. These are partly the bets, but here are the complete disaster we did. That's the same thing that I did with the Euro League. Simply say those 4 things, lose 3.5 units with it, quit from that, don't repeat it, and we would have regained 2.5 units, I would say, if I would have proceeded. Now we can say, forget about Finland, we may do, but next week we would have maybe the good bets. But it's just, of course, it's ridiculous, because this is like, if you were able to produce this record yourself, I mean, remember that Mad Max bet that I'm talking about at Admirals, who was turning to the ones that are so unlucky that they are always getting the wrong side, right? And so they said, here you got the chance, you can prove you're gonna get things wrong. So here are 6 games you can bet, and you have to get them all of them wrong, and then you win some money. And that's a very good idea. The price has to be a good one, but still, because it's tough. But here everyone can prove how bad or how unlucky he is. Mad Max, of course, yeah. But now try to do that record yourself. Try to make 4 bets, 4 random bets. Just make 4 random bets. Just close your eyes and say, okay, 1x2. I took out the dice because once I was so separate, I took out 1 die and I rolled out what I'm gonna bet, and I won the bet. So you can do the same thing. But it's a very, very tough task to make 4 picks and get lose 3.5 units with that. So we were obviously very, very unlucky, and that's, as I said, we missed the wedding, so now we are here for the funeral, and it is what happened. But those are still not the bets. But try to do that. I mean, you can post me here. I'm sure this team, they can't win, so bet against them and show me you managed. I mean, they did not win. You just tried to get the wrong side. If you could do that, then you could do the opposite as well. If you manage to get all the games wrong, then you could also get them right, if you wish to. Neither one is possible. I bet, but what is it that I can bet? Here are the bets at long last. And here are the bets from St. Mirren down to Kashima. This is all of them, and I couldn't display that any better, because it starts with Hamilton and goes down to Kashima. There's no more to come, and there's no... Sirius has been played already against Helsingborg. Helsingborg. Okay, here are the bets. So this indicates the side, blue indicates an over, which is also displayed here. Kilmarnock is a side, here you see the line. If you need it, you can also just take the side for any price. It should be possible. On the other hand, if you find that the Asian market went significantly down with the price, then you may say most likely it's not a good idea to bet Kilmarnock to win. Of course, there's a rule of thumb as well, which is not such an easy one. I could try and work it out as a general rule of thumb, which line, which price reflects which straight winning bet. I mean, if we have plus 1.75 a side like we had in Finland or so, then we had a 9.5 price where we could bet the team, because plus 1.75 is pretty hard to overcome, and also turn this 1.75 around. You have to 1.5, it goes up the price, 1.25 it goes up to 1, it goes up again, 0.75, it goes up 0.5, and then you have 1.5 and 1, 0.75, 0.5, 0, 0, 10 steps on the Asian ladder that you have to go down with quarters of goals. And everyone means a raise of price, and it ends on 9.5 that you bet the team to win. We have no such example here, but we may have the maximum line here would be, well, there are no weird lines. We did have them here. Here, Sandefjord get 1.5 goals and Rosenborg minus 1.5, which is of course, which translates into a 135 maybe that you can bet them for, which my rule of thumb should cover all the standard lines up to maybe 2 or something, difference of 2, and I could cover them and maybe display them somewhere. But it would still just be a standard, because if you have a special league, like the Finnish league is different, and Finnish and Scottish are a bit similar right now, but Swedish is different again, and maybe, German Bundesliga would be different again, but not these huge differences. But there are at least 2 differences to make sure, or I'm trying to make you understand what it's based upon, why there are differences, which is not what the standard market would, the standard better, or also the prices would be designed for. But some market is getting better there as well. But there are the small differences are within the standard differences somehow. Okay. I just received a message, so I couldn't really think right now for a second, and I forgot. I lost my sentence on the idea and what I was trying to say. You can try to start again. There are 2 differences that we do make out, which make the difference for. Which can make the difference, and the computer doesn't care so much. He said, here's an indication, okay, you can bet it. Maybe you can bet it a regular win for Sandefjord, but you can't bet the plus 1.5. Here we don't even have the true prices in, right? I thought I entered them, but anyway, we have 2. But these things may happen, and why can they happen? Because there are differences in those leagues with a goal average, and there are some differences in the draw factor, how I call it. It's the draw factor that does make a difference. And it's, of course, it is pretty obvious, but you can say, well, this doesn't count if HJK play against, who did they play yesterday that we bet on? But why would they care for a draw factor that you introduced? I mean, they don't know about it and they don't care about it. And there you may be against, they're gonna play today, right, against HJK, but that's even a better example. But if we don't know the result yet, right? But why would they care about a draw factor? They don't care. I mean, they want to win the game. Still, if they regularly play too many draws, so to say, as compared to goal average and what the standard would be for that, then still the probability is a bit bigger without they can do much about it. But maybe I'm wrong. But I have to use some standard values to. Now standard, the standard is I need this parameter, because otherwise I would go wrong everywhere. Of course you could try to say I'm gonna try to judge those games individually, which is maybe a very decent approach, but try to better my results. under. Well, whenever there's an under, it could be any under, but usually, well, if you bet at the Nietzlak, if you bet under, I mean, I'm giving the lines here. That's what I'm trying to say, right? The lines are given. If there's an under, it is, in this case, it is under 2.5. If you know the Asian kind of betting, oh no, I must not touch anywhere here. Oh, please, 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 leave me alone. Oh, that's an green is an under, but it doesn't. Okay. Can you even see that here? Those are all the bets. I mean, 2? Okay. I hope it's okay. Nick, what was your name? Sorry, Nietzlak. If there's an under, it can be any line here. Those are the lines. Oh no, please, please, give me a break. Okay. I mean, if there are unders here, there are the lines. Usually though, if we get under 3.25, 199, that's what I was trying to say. There I could apply that same table. In this case, it would really actually be reliable, pretty reliable, because for the total goals, it doesn't make so much of a difference, the draw factor or things like that, because it's just about totals. But how this translates into a under 2.5, I do not know. As we had yesterday, Barcelona against Bayern, the over, which was proposed here, and I was saying we skip that. Computer would not like it, but computer may be fully wrong because it's a one game decider and so on. But we can still check the stats there if it was right or wrong as far as we can measure it. But if there is an over or under 3.25, which was the line yesterday, then you could also do the over 2.5 in case you want an over. Then you have to put up with a price of 140 or 145, 135, could be around that. And there's no, well, I didn't give anywhere the translation for that, which means how this translates. I mean, what would the proper price be? Well, I can show you this as well, because if you want to see that, how the steps are going from one to the next one, from the one line to the next one, this should be here. What was the game we just talked about? Let's stick to that one. That's Sapporo against Kawasaki, 3.25. Now we have the Sapporo against Kawasaki. I can even show that in the... But now you see here, 2.5 is 179, 225. 2.75 is 199 over, and 2.0 under true price. And 3 is 2.34, 1.74. And 3. So just to see how it goes from one line to the next line and how the prices change. 179, 199, 234, 260, 268, 3.02. So it had been pretty regularly going up by 0.35, 0.34, 0.34 again. So here it's pretty regular, but from here to here it went up by 0.2, but it still doesn't answer all the questions, because this is special. In the next one here it would be kind of different gaps, because you have a different basis and you have a different line here and a different price it starts from. So there's no such easy rule of thumb that you can use to work out what over you need it or under the price should be if it's 2.5 the line. My best 5 bets and promote them. The thing is, I would be especially careful about making good picks, so to say, because what you maybe misunderstand there is that there's always very, very small margins anywhere around, and if we reduce the number of the sample, if we reduce it like this significantly, the sample we have, then we are much more exposed to bad luck. And of course we do not mind so much to be exposed to good luck, because we just have it. Okay, that's fine, no worries at all. But we don't want to expose ourselves to bad luck, because we have the mathematical approach. And if we went for the bets as had been proposed, or as some kind of standard punter at the market does, they make some bet with €1 and make a huge combination. They expose themselves, so to say, to the maximum possible luck, because they want to have 15 games right and then get €16,000 for one in return. But so they expose themselves. But if they manage, they would just say, well, I won, of course, or maybe they wouldn't say it even, but rather they would try to promote themselves. But they would talk about it and forget about the plenty of losses they had before, or they are gonna have in the future. But still, they would talk about this one bet. That's also what makes them stay there. But it's not what we would like to do, or not what we would like to achieve. If the system works, it works in the long run, and it works for plenty of hundreds or even thousands of bets. And I would not like to, of course, for if you want any kind of promotion, how to make the most of it in terms of money. And you could say do anything. I mean, I'm the Wett-Opa right now, and maybe I can sell anything, right, at the moment. But it's not what I intend, and it's not what I'm trying to do. Of course, no one would say, well, you get some free money, why would you take it, or so, right? No, I'm not gonna take that. But I would like to have first of all, provide a real good service and make my name, so to say, and then, well, the money should come without much, well, in some way. And so my promotion, this attempts, I'm not really pushing them, if you understand what I'm saying. And the selection of my best bets, I'm trying to repeat that. If we have a very, very, I mean, we do not see the margin here, but we can also go back to old bets for that. If we have a very decent margin, I mean, if you want to make a selection, the top 5, when I say here, I can't see a single reason what could be wrong with this bet or something like that, right? Then you could make it up yourself. But why should I put it on an extra sheet or something like that? Okay, needs luck. Thank you. I mean, for these warm words. There is also this, what did we have here? No margin at all, right? Alt, fair. And I don't see the goal performance here. But sometimes it is these very smooth bets that are just perfect. There's no margin, but all the other components, and we have to look that up, of course, in the table, and while we talk about it, we may find it, but it's a very smooth one sometimes, and that we say, I don't even know what happened here, right? Most likely we lost it. But sometimes I say, that's a good one. Because no margin, but all other, it even makes it a better one, right? Sometimes, I can't say that for this one. And not because we lost it or something like that, but because I was just trying to show you. It is sometimes a criteria, if this is the word, that if old and new fully agree, which you don't see in these side bets, because I'm not putting them into, which I was long ago intending, still haven't done it, to turn that into true prices, right? I want to do it automatically. I can enter that and manually, but I want to do that. But sometimes there are all those parameters why we work out a bet. Of course, we can look at today's bets, and if you want to, of course, we can check them. But there's also a league-wise distinction, which I haven't pointed out yet at all. Oh, you didn't see anything of what I've done here. I'm very sorry. Because it was the wrong thing that I tuned in here. I was talking all the time, but something you could not witness. If we have sometimes we have a very, that's what I was trying to say in this one, when we had an agreement between old and new, or what was it that I just was talking about, the Falkenbergs Malmö, that there's no margin here. It was the one, no margin, 184 true price, 181, but all the other components are on the good side, so to say, and then I might even consider this a very good one. And here I was talking about this when old and new agree, more or less, right? And but it's also a matter sometimes if the goal average in this league, it's going okay there, and sometimes you do that by intuition. But I may say that here or there, that here we are getting along quite well, so why not, right? But I would really, yeah, Mentor 8, you're right. I hate that, or I do not like it. I do not like it to say this is a very good bet, like saying we are gonna win it, or sometimes I say the components or the things we consider, the parameter, the characteristics, whatever we consider are very good and perfect, so to say. They fit together here. That's what I would say, right? But I would never talk about the very good one. We're gonna win it tonight. Yeah, we're gonna. When the game yesterday started, I don't know how you felt about it. Before the kickoff, so to say, right? Then they tried to say in Sky before that is Ricardo. I was talking about him quite often, and he also made his name or found his position there, and he's doing a quite decent job, which is I can hardly say about any one of them. But then he said, it rarely ever happens to me, or happened recently, that I wake up in the morning and have this feeling somehow there's something special today. And if it's Barcelona Bayern, of course he's trying to promote this broadcast as well, and all this the Sky and so on, which all the others should do, but they do not know about it, that they need to. Obviously, they forgot what they came there for, why they went into journalism or commentary football also. They say football is so big or something like that. That's their presumption, which is not true. People are turning away, or they need to catch every single viewer they can get, which they don't care for. But when he says there was something special today, then this is also in some sense true. I would say, concerning myself, and maybe you can ask yourself how you felt about it. It is a special game. You know that. It's the clash of the giants somehow, and so many years they are trying. You saw them. Everyone knows how they play or what they can do and so on, and you wait for something special to happen, which was the case in the end. But you also, well, this is the big games you came here for. You went for football, right? It's one of these. So he may even be true, even though this may also be a advertising measure or something like that he's trying to make it bigger than it is. But it may also be he really felt it. But I also did feel it, of course, because this time, I mean, it is special. No one can ignore that. It's a question how you then still feel about it, right? If you say, okay, it's just another game of football, or what more do I feel? Or what do you feel? I mean, you may ask yourself. But it is, how is it going to end? Of course, right? Who's going to win? Of course, it is a major part of that, but it's in conjunction with the proposals here that I make, right? If I saw the 3.5 units in Finland already going downhill, or here going down the drain, and then I have to keep my excitement, but it's like any other unit, right? We are fighting for, so to say. And if you lost already, you say, okay, we're gonna lose today, I don't know, whatever, though this sometimes ignites, or yeah. But to be honest, I still think in the end I can't make it a good bet, Bayern. And why would I do that, right? Because I think, would I attack market on this price, no matter what reason you got, or what is the extra reason, what is the extra in this case that I should have over market? What is the extra? I mean, if I play the best backgammon player, I did play Nick Ballard or something like that in backgammon, and I beat him, okay. But I noticed after the game, he's just better. So, and he showed me some things, and he's just better. I was very good at the time, but he was better. He was better, I can't doubt that. And so what could be the reason to attack market on this game? That's all that I ask myself. Then I think there is no way to beat this 2.04. That is the right price. There's no reason to attack it. And I mean, for a last thing, and maybe it's not worth it to really talk that much about a single game, or it is. I don't know how you feel about it. But if we see in the end how small those stats favor, I mean, it's fine. 2.04 is okay. We had been good, right? We had been okay here. 1.06, 2.21, you can compare that, but that is rather, we can even, what is clutch? Frank Dreblin, thanks for your follow. Was clutch performance? Yeah, well, they that's what the Germans do, right? As I said for Leipzig, they are never showing any sign of fear, or they just keep going. And of course, the interview, if you hear that, what Thomas Müller said, and they tried to make this comparison to Brazil, Germany, 2014. But he said that's nothing to do with that, because they felt on the pitch there the ball just didn't go their way. There's still some similarities, also of course the 6 goals difference and so on. But he still felt it. He was playing there and he was playing here, and he was even not trying. He was trying to avoid this question or somehow, get away from it. Let's not talk about this game. We had this game today, but it was also after he started arguing a bit, not silly, but a bit. Well, now what are you trying to say actually? And they keep going. I mean, they keep going, and then they say everything. Every goal does us some good, and that's why they are. Well, all the world are somehow afraid of the Germans, right? They don't stop, but they don't stop here because it's 6-2 or whatever it is. But they also never give up their confidence somehow, because it did not happen often enough that they went down, which happened to the others, because the Germans always picked up the wins in the end, and that's why they can't fight that. They can't fight that. The others, they can't fight it. That's my conclusion in the end. I didn't know it at the kickoff, right? I didn't know it, and a guy showed me his ticket yesterday. He took Bayern minus at halftime, 4-1. And was totally confident, was laughing inside, but had to agree then. You were laughing inside, right? Minus 2.5. What does it mean, minus from now on? So another 3 goals difference? What is the... They're going to win 8-2 or 7-1. That's what was his prediction. Or what was it? They keep the difference? I mean, there's no price, so I can't say. Halftime 4-1 at 9. Okay. So it was minus 2.5, of course. You have to laugh about it. Because it's such a silly bet, right? It wouldn't even be before the game. You have to, but in the end he won it, right? He's a typical German, right? He must be typical German. They can't stop. But here you see that it's still within a very, very regular difference of, right, Man U, FCK, or right, there's even FCK were a bit closer, okay, which is obvious, but not much of a difference there, and that was Man U, FCK Copenhagen, right? But that would be, but Juve against Lyon, as I said, they've done everything right. They still couldn't win this by 2 goals, and Bayern won by 6. But of course, you can say in the end. But that was the 5-2 that was needed. But they did have this meep here. And that's what he showed in this dribbling as well. Because he's using his pace and his, what is it called? Acceleration. There's a different word, right? So they may have a much better chance of convert, because I was talking about the conversion rate, and what I would easily agree would be that after at least after the 5th they scored, that Barcelona hung their heads, so they didn't they gave up. That's what you have to say. I mean, they wanted to score a goal. That's, I wouldn't say, but in defending But if they play such perfect kind of, but and that's what Müller also said after that's they just couldn't stop, because just simply, that's what I said before the last match day when I was predicting the was it Wolfsburg, when I said the easiest way for Bayern to preserve their energy is having the ball and moving the ball, and that's what they did. They had the ball and they moved the ball. So what else can they do, right? They don't want to heckle behind somehow, or the others have the ball and okay, they may score a goal or something like that, and it doesn't matter, 3-7 or 7-3, but they want to preserve their energy. And how they do it? Move the ball, have the ball, keep the ball, move the ball. That's what they did. So that was a perfect example. So you can also say in arguing. It is, if you want to slow down, keep the ball, but they can't do otherwise, right? It's their kind of football, and it's to this perfection. Yeah, well, okay, maybe he said 7-1 or 8-2, no problem. That's very, very good. Frank Dreblin, I'm waiting for some questions. I said 1 hour, and as soon as I start to talk about football, I just enjoy it somehow. You may notice. And of course, this is also part not of the business, part of the joy of the business, but also part of the, well, it is not just mathematics. It's also some understanding of football that you need, and I of course would like to point out I do at some point, which makes me also, whatever I say here makes it a bit more reliable, because you say, well, okay, the computer he can handle, or he's a mathematician, and then there are his figures, and he bets on those figures and so on, and maybe it's gonna win or not, which I don't know, but maybe here he can underline as well, or I'm trying to, at least that there's also some knowledge and understanding of football needed, and it's helpful. It is helpful because all the things we are observing here and all the stats we are following, if I talk about these 2.21, 1.06, which would fully justify a bet for 2.04, so we can't complain here. And I would say there's still some space for errors here, because all those chances that were coming late on, they are of much bigger size, and this is, the computer can't handle that. I can't do that. I could use X goals, which is ridiculous for me, but maybe there's something we could do with it, so make it also helpful, some kind of approach, but as I said, we could improve in many areas, but we do not know what kind of chances are coming their way. So how would we predict that? But still, it's just of bigger size. So X goals. Can you give me the values that X goals has here? They should have, but maybe they will have 3.4 goals or something like that, which I wouldn't even doubt so much, right? Because it's closer to the truth. Here, as I said, I'm just using kind of standard values, and this has been a special game. Everyone knows it, sees it, and that's gonna be a long-lasting story, like the Germany-Brazil, even if you can't compare it otherwise. But it's gonna be one of those, the historical kind of games that will be recited referred to for the next 20 years or 25. I don't know, but it can be remembered in 40 years as well. But what were the stats that Understat had? X goals for this game, just to compare it once, and just to make you, you still can get more sophisticated, look into more details, and make them useful for your future prospects in winning against the market, right? Is there a value that Understat had given here? Pinnacle Bartha, 5.36. Ui. But 5. Okay, it may be all those tap-ins, right? Where were those tap-ins? The 5th? Yeah, all the other goals. They are so good chances, right, that it raises this value here. But maybe it's for the late chances, right? Would you see it after 70 minutes, maybe? Okay, but anyway, it's one figure for comparison we have here, and of course, this game is so special that we can just as well ignore it, or we understand it. But as I said here, those values are still pretty regular. 726, okay, that could happen in France against Peru as well, or something like that, right? International. On target 14.5, that's amazing. So you're much better, but that's not. Well, you saw teams not winning. We had many of these, right? Like if you remember St. Gallen in Thun, or what did they have here? Do we have that game here somewhere? St. Gallen in Thun that we lost. Maybe I can check that one. Thun against St. Gallen, right? Well, I just see the goals that should have been. I do not see the single stats, right? But still, this translation here, and we lost it. I mean, that's a fully different translation here. 0.76, 4.11, and we lost it. So in this case, I mean, there had been clearly superior stats for St. Gallen in Thun, and we can't win the game. So those things happen, and so you can't. But as I said, if it's crunch time, if it's the best meet the best, and if it's Grand Slam, that's what I was trying to say, the Grand Slam tournament here, so to say, right? Then the chance is getting a bit bigger that they convert their chances, right? Anyway, those stats are not. It's 50-50 possession they had given, right? So it means it's not. I mean, 6-9 corners, okay, just a small, and crosses were 10-15, so just a very small plus, and tackles 46-54. So it's. I mean, these areas Bayern, they were much better, but you can't translate this into 8-2. Still, we saw it and we know what happened. But still, it means you have to find synthesis of understanding of football and those figures. I couldn't produce those figures or all those algorithms without understanding of football, right? That would not be possible, I'm sure. I mean, there could be, show me the mathematician. He starts with a business. He says, okay, give me all the stats in the world, and then I work out a system that's perfectly gonna beat the market and so on. And I just need the stats. Do you know football? No. What is it? Well, ball. You know what a ball is? No idea. What is a ball? Well, it's round and it's no. I haven't seen that. No idea. But the stats are enough. Give me the results and give me the stats, and I'm gonna work out a system. I'm gonna tell you he's not gonna able, but maybe if he is genius, why not? But then we have to use we need this extra, more or less, because our software can't. Well, the software is a product from that. So whatever I say now, it's getting rubbish. Okay. Any more things we have to discuss right now? I mean, we try to ignore, or you would like to see some more. Well, what was it? No, I've discussed this. I've argued about that. I mean those the quality and the goals and the things we had discussed yesterday, right? That we have. I could make this a bit bigger, could I? A lot bigger. and then forget about this window. Well, what more would you like to discuss? I mean, here we see somehow weirdly that home sides did win, and if I do my kind of calculation, the home advantage, you see here, my computer is not working properly. That divided by this plus this, and now I'm missing one bracket, divided by 2, and we see the home advantage they played at. And if you want so, this is a 115. Well, you could also say that's divide this by 2 and you get 75.5% of the goals that the home side scores. But the 115 is not a value they play at, even before Corona. So 115 is simply too big. And this is very, well, it's amazing, or it is confusing a bit, because we would always argue about lowered home advantage, right? And this is 115. It is an archaic value. It used to be in the 80s still, or 70s or so. It used to be in Europe, it used to be 1.20. So you really did have home sides, they scored 60% of the goals. That was a standard value that I somehow started with, right? I mean, that I started when I did these analysis and all those kinds of predictions more or less already as a child, or yeah, when I was growing up, like 11, 12, 13, 14 and so on. It was 120. It's a factor. I mean, you divide the half of you multiply half of the goal average with the 115 to get the home goal scored. But simply this 115, it's does not exist anymore. If you would ask me today, I would say a regular value for any league. I start a new league, I don't know anything, and you're not going to give me old results, maybe even because they don't exist. So a new league starts, and I'm going to enter it. Then I would take a home advantage of 1.1, 55% of the goals. And we have 115 in these days when we would actually say there is a lowered home advantage. And that we did have too many goals. It's also a bit funny because, well, then you could say, well, it's easier to score when there's no one pushing you or something like that, so to say, for the home sides. So we could argue that spectators are even hampering the home sides, right? In some sense, because they ask them to score, they ask them to go forward, they wait for something to happen, and they can't provide that. So if there's no pressure, it's getting easier, which is not proven by the other stats. So it's kind of the selection of the games which could also worry us. I mean, we don't want to be worried because we are doing okay here, but it could worry us still that we always have to ask ourselves if we are doing things well and if we are going all right with that in general. So if this selection of the games was somehow, because it's just a selection of games that we have here, right? It's a certain selection of games where we have huge differences to market, right? So this certain kind of selection of games is somehow maybe prone, or that there are more differences or bigger differences. But we can't actually make out a certain tendency, because as we saw, we did have over, under, we did have favorites here, favorites at home. Here we have the best example. We have a home side with minus 1.5, we have a home side with plus 1.5. We have an away side with plus 1.5. We have a home side with minus, home side with plus. We have a home side with plus. I mean, if you look around here, away side with a plus, away side with a plus. Okay, would there be any kind here? We have a home favorite again. So would you make out any kind of tendency that the computer favors some certain thing? We could say that it's somehow favoring slightly the over. Soccerome, did you work out the stats for how many over, how many under? I mean, you can simply count here, I think, but I don't know these commands really. But there's a sum that you could do with some restrictions. But it may be a slight overhead, but now that I say it, I see there are 5 unders. But it could still be a bit over, a small tendency towards the over, but that the computer wants. But here it would also be perfectly okay, because the goals had been there. And if I talk about the expectancies from the old system, and this is the closing line, right? And if the computer here is a bit more negative about goals, right, compared to the new system, so it said it's somehow lower expectancy. I mean, we could enter here as well home advantage, because they are getting updated, or I have to do it manually. We can here talk about the goal average. And this is obviously, no, please don't do that. Goal, it's doing it again. No, goal average. And well, it is obviously this plus. When was the last time you had such a slow computer? Plus this, all takes its time, divided by this. We will get there in the end. So we have quite a okay, so I needed to fix that one. Because the games are always the same. But here you see some proof for what I had been saying, in the sense of what I expect, what kind of home advantage I would consider realistic. That's 1.08 in the old system, which, yeah, well, you have to have a look here how the adjustments are being done, right? But I didn't take any much influence. Well, how could I say that? But if you see here the goals that should have been, and it's 1.1, then you would very well accept that the new system has this home advantage. So it simply says it should be, I expect 1.1, it should be 1.1, so I'm happy. If the old system says it's a bit lower, it may be partly for the results, which are not reflected in this selection of the games, but otherwise it is a bit lower. But I mean, here you see simply how well the most varying value would be this one. That would be the only one. If the closing lines are 1.06, then I would say heads off to market, because I suspected it not to care for this. I suspected it after seeing the prices, not before that. Then I don't know what market is going to say or think or how it's going to compile it, because I don't know how to do it and others don't know either. I'm talking about Corona, right? Or the absence of spectators, I should say. And here I would say, obviously, market more or less assumed already a lower home advantage, which still refers to this small selection of games. But it would still make some sense to me. But I can't ignore the stats, so I'm better in this sense. Because I'm not anticipating anything, and I had been proven right, more or less, right? I didn't anticipate something. If I anticipated, I had been talking about it, and I had been mentioning it, that I do not consider home advantage anymore to go down to the spectators, because I saw this is a thing that it was a decision I made, because I said this pressure, the argument that I was using before, that is a too strong one. So usually the home fans, they are not a real support. They may be a support as soon as it starts going and they start winning, but they are not a support, which is in more cases when it's once again a 0-1 scoreline, and they hope for the team to do better, and they start to whistle because to complain about the effort, and they like that they are making it harder to recover. Because those players, they feel this unhappiness and it makes their legs heavier. And now it's a matter of how often does this happen, how often does this happen, but how often is it gonna be a 0-0 when usually you still have, they are a bit unhappy, right? It's very often 0-0 when they say, well, we are coming here to see some fine goals, and it's still after 30 minutes, after 60 minutes, also it's still 0-0, so we are not quite happy. And this, I would say, is proven here. Market did anticipate something. We have a small selection, so we shouldn't go too far with it, and we have very weird results in some sense. But the total goals, as you see here, old system had been a bit pessimistic about the goals, which was fine in the sense of what the away sides are going to score, because here I'm still then better than the market, because here I'm closer to what happened, and here I may be a bit worse because they come closer to the 335 market compared to the old system. But if I beat them here, then I'm still better altogether, even in the old system. And here you see that the should goals are fully covered by the ones that came, and it means, well, then go on with your system, you're doing okay, although the distribution is not quite up to it, which would, for me, in some sense, still reflect that it's still a bit harder for the side that's trying to prove something, which is usually the home side. With Corona or without spectators, they all don't know yet how to handle that. But still, it would be the best guess would be it's going to stay the same. Which, yeah, it's just a guess, but it would mean it is harder to turn the good stats into results. But actually, well, they should have scored more, they should have scored less, they should have scored more. So it's different here, actually. But I wasn't arguing well, or the truth is it's different, or the other way around. Then I would get back to the fact that it's a small selection of games. Yeah, zählen wenn, but I don't know how to do that. Under 55, yeah, we have over 72, home 86, away 62. So we have a slight inclination to go for the over, but not a huge one, 72-55, which is in some sense justified by the new system. But if the old system agrees, and if market says, yeah, 288, and old system says 280, and it still says go for over, then market is somehow somewhere wrong. But if it's 195 games, we shouldn't talk too much about it, maybe, which I'm still doing. But it would still, for me, it would prove here that, well, no clear tendency for over under. Now, apart from the 86, 62, I needed plus or minus handicap, right? How many plus and how many minus handicaps do we have? This is another relevant figure. Do we have more favorites or more outsiders? So are you getting tired? You are, I'm sure. I'm not. Yes, I am. Okay. No, but I like this, and I think we are making progress. And I wouldn't, well, of course I do that every day, look at some figures and think about it, but I wouldn't, well, yeah, sometimes I do it in this depth, but it's a lot more fun, at least, to do it together with you, as long as you enjoy it. If you don't, of course, then I say, okay, I'm once again the loneliest person on earth, because no one understands my way of thinking. And it is, of course, it is connected to the way of thinking is how to approach this, and how to, of course, it's a scientific approach that I'm using. If you say you could say, well, we all want nothing but money. Well, I would say I would like to prove in a mathematical way that it's possible to beat the market, so to say, and that I'm good at that, and that he can use the algorithms. I have a friend here, chess player, let's say, he's pretty good in chess as well, but he said to me he's doing the stock market thing somehow, but what he did was he's winning all the prizes in this theoretically, beating the market there. And he wrote many articles. He's a doctor, and he wrote many articles, and all those articles prove more or less that he's winning, and his models are working. He still laughs about it and says that he's not doing this business. All the stats would say that, but it's because he's doing it in theory. He's not having the market impact. So it's just a theoretical approach to prove, yeah, I can beat the market in theory, as long as I'm not taking part in it, so to say. That would translate into, and this I find a brilliant, not just aspect, but something we have to keep in mind as well, because it refers to the betting market as well, right? You can instantly give up and lay down what is it called? Retire from the business, because you say, now he's proven me we can never win. This is not true, but what I say there is that the value of these figures or of this approach is very restricted, and that may be what this doctor did notice already or before, and he's doing a different business and just doing a good business. It's fine, but he laughs about the thing. Why aren't you going? No, it's not what he's gonna do. And somehow I like this approach, and also his thoughts about it. Still, we do have some value maybe in that, but it is restricted. You understand that? I can do plenty of things, and I'm pleased if you ask such questions, of course, although not listening for 20 minutes, of course, right? You need to get punished for that. Here are the Japan bets. On the other hand, we did not make the distinction yet on how many favorites and underdogs we had, and we didn't make the distinction which league is producing. So we could still Summe wenn for Japan, Norway, and so on, which might, if I'm not doing it, maybe you can call it laziness, but you can also say, because I know that that you're drawing some bad conclusions. If you say, you see, Finland are not going well, and so on, and or whatever it is, right? Then you say, oh, we're gonna drop this. EuroLeague was a disaster. We get away from that. Well, maybe we shouldn't have done it because we quit when we were about to start winning, which I also consider not true, because you know my ideas, my philosophical approach on that, that we have some influence with whatever we do. So if we place a bet, then maybe, right, Messi is gonna score or he's not gonna score. Maybe the difference, this one goal. And I think I always stayed here for 2 hours while intending to do a single one only. Mentor 8, I hope you got your bet, and I see you're not that excited about what I'm telling you. No one here really. Or who's here? I can't see anyone in the chat. But anyway, that's the way I'm doing things here, and I may stick to that. And here are all the bets this weekend. Or are they all here? All of them? 13. Yes, Hamilton. It starts with Hamilton, goes down to Kashima. And I'm gonna quit. What better word would there be? I'll be off right now. Thanks for watching. Bye.